I'm live. Okay, I am live. I am Becca Lori Hector here. I am your host of Growing Gratitude, and welcome to it. I am here every Monday at 11:30 Eastern Time, and I do this great live stream with you guys where I talk about the things that are challenging as an autistic adult alive today. And then I talk about the things that I use to kind of motivate me through those challenges and what I'm grateful for them. And it's perfect. It happens on a Monday. So I've had the whole weekend to sort of gain up my energy. And I have this whole week ahead of me in which I have to be ready, right? And I have to come in it with a certain amount of energy. And so I'm really excited that I do this with you guys every Monday. I sort of set my goals for the week and I think about what I want to do differently this week than I did last week and all of those interesting things. Excuse me. So yay, welcome to it. I'm excited to have you guys. As you might hear, my voice is a little sketch today. It's a little sketchy because I'm not feeling so great. I got to tell you. And I don't mean and this is one of those cases. Oh, I'm excited to talk about it. Actually, it's one of those cases where it's my physicality that is not well, and it is not linked to my autism. So it's not about my mental health right now. It's about my physical health right now. And like a lot of autistic folks, I have co-occurring conditions, right? I have other illnesses and other things that I deal with on top of the fact that I'm autistic out in the world. And so one of those things for me is dysautonomia. And I struggle with that a lot, and POTS. And those are my little friend things. And I've got some other things. I definitely have a hypermobile profile for sure. And so I struggle with all of those things in addition to whatever challenges I may pick up because of my autism, right? And of course, I then experience those co-occurring conditions in my own special way, different from the average person, because, right, it all processes through my autistic brain. And so it's that conundrum. And that's where I find myself on this lovely Monday as I join you guys. It is raining outside. Oh, he is here. I have a kitty cat. You can't really see him, but there he is. He's behind me, Mr. Mel. No, really can't see him. Oh, there's his eyes. There he is. So I'll see if I can lean this way so that you guys can see him. But he's just a black mass right now. In any case, I am coming to you, yes, on this rainy kind of fall day. And I love days like today. Like my heart is happy. I just want to grab a book and like a cup of tea right now and sit around in cozy socks in front of a fire. That's what my little hobbit self wants to do. But of course, I can't do that. I have other things that I have to do. Maybe I'll get some hours of it today. But I'm sitting here with you guys to talk about really what my challenge that it really just came through and I'm still kind of feeling it is that I had a little flare this weekend. And I don't really know. That's the crazy thing about all the things, my co-occurring conditions, is that I don't always know what caused or triggered my flare. I can usually not know when those flares are going to come or arrive. Sometimes I know I've pushed myself too far and I kind of can predict that it's coming. But this weekend, it hit me so hard and out of nowhere, you guys, that I thought I had the flu. Like I thought I was like sick for a second. I had a fever, I had the chills, I was freezing, and I'm not someone who's ever cold. All kinds of weird little things like that. And so I genuinely thought I was sick. And so I did all these things to take care of myself. And it turns out that I think that I had a flare when I look back on it, which was like 2 days of just not being able to, or really a day and a half of not being able to I was just exhausted. I felt sick, like I had the flu. I don't know how else to explain it. Well, it turns out that somewhere around the way, I dehydrated myself and my electrolytes dropped. And I don't know when it happened exactly because I don't feel, even when I look back, I don't really think that I did anything like that. I was a participant in this necessarily, right? That I egged it on in some way. But the only thing that I did do that I can think about is that I kind of dropped down the amount of electrolytes I was taking in because it wasn't humid in summer anymore. And I think that I can't do that. So that day when I was really feeling sick, I started to rehydrate. And I think that I got really dehydrated and I got my electrolytes really dropped very low, I think. And so I had to do a lot of rehydrating. And once I rehydrated myself, I added a little iron to the mix and that seemed to really perk me up. So I'm feeling better, but you can still hear it in my voice, the tired. I don't know, I carry it there, I guess. very Stevie Nicks-y sounding to me on the inside right now. Um, and so that is kind of where I'm coming out of today. And I am sitting in this place today thinking, wow, like what did I do? What could I have done differently? All of these things. And the truth is, when you struggle with co-occurring conditions like the ones that I have, you're not always in control of it. That's the whole point. Dysautonomia is all about not being in control of all of those things. So often my electrolytes will drop or I will dehydrate, and I don't, like, it's not like I ran a marathon or I did any kind of exercise and I should say, oh, I should rehydrate, right? But my body goes through that. And so it's an interesting thing to deal with. But in any case, I had to peel myself through all of that, right? And make sure that I still had in place a lot of the things that I need them to be in. Like, did I drop the ball? Was the check I had to do this weekend. Was I really sick first? And then if it's not and it's my co-occurring conditions, did I do something to exacerbate? Did I do too much the day before? Did I not eat enough or not drink enough or whatever, those kind of things. And then once I kind of go through that, there's a point that we get to, and it's like, well, it almost doesn't matter why, it just matters how to get better, right? And then, I I I think though I can't do it without the why, right? Like the why behind everything is so important to my brain that I can't just be sick and then take care of myself and let it pass. I need to know where the sick came from. Why am I sick? Did I forget to wash my hands? What did I do? Right? All of those things. And so when I layer in these co-occurring conditions, there's so many questions, right? There's so many whys. What could all the whys be? And so it's a learning curve for me. And so this kind of little space that I was in reminded me that any time of year I need to be having electrolytes around and I need to be paying attention and all of those kind of things. And I can't, just because I don't need it double time doesn't mean I can stop doing it, period. Right. That was my health takeaway from that whole situation. But the other thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is a kind of a bigger long-term thought process that I want to talk about. And so if you followed me for a very long time, or if you have taken the course, you know about the F word. I'm going to briefly describe it for folks who don't know what the F word is. And I don't mean that F word. I mean my version of the F word. And so for me, I'm somebody who resolutions don't work, right? Yearly resolutions don't make sense to my brain. They don't work. I see them categorically not working for other people. Okay. Categorically not working for them. And so I'm like, why would I do that? I don't understand. So they never worked for me. They don't work for other people. And I just don't understand them. And so what I decided to do was to stop having resolutions and instead choose a theme for my year. And I'm not alone in doing this. This is not some kind of brainstorm. You can look all over the internet. Anybody who does mindfulness kind of things and well-being stuff, you'll find that we all tend to really think that this idea of themes works a lot better than a resolution. Why? Well, because as you're going through your year, right, it's not just a behavior that you want to change. Most of the time, you're trying to change a thinking pattern, right? You're trying to change a habit, a way that you are doing things or thinking about things, right? It's not just a behavior adjustment. And so I say to you, a theme is a far more successful way to go about your yearly growth, right? That's how I look at it. It's my yearly growth. Where and in which way do I want to grow this year? And that's what I want my theme to be. So when I started doing this, the very first word that I picked, oh, another piece of that is it's really important to me and really important, I think, for autistic people that when we choose a theme for the year, that it be an active theme, meaning there must be a verb in there. We don't want to, or rather, we want to be doing something active with our lives. We want to stay in motion. We want things to be changing and us to be growing. And therefore, it needs to be a verb, right? We need to be having verbs in there so we stay active, right? Like with an action word, right? Because just like growth, right? Thriving is also an action word, right? It is not a destination, thriving. We don't just get to thriving. You don't, right? It is an action word, is the act of thriving, right? And that's what this is all in hopes of. So we're going to stick with that theme and that idea for our themes and make sure that we're picking something active or an active word. And so in that thought process, my very first word was forgive, the act of forgiving, right? I had a lot of forgiving to do. Forgiving of myself for not doing better. I had a lot of forgiving to do of the people around me, the adults in my life for little me, right? I had a lot of stuff that I had been carrying around with me, and I had not explored at all this idea, right, of forgiveness. It was a hard one for me, but that was my very first theme. And the word forgiveness ended up teaching me a whole lot about a lot of the other things that had nothing to do with forgiveness, right? There were scenarios, even work scenarios in my life that year, that when I looked at them through the lens of forgiveness, right, they played out differently, right? And it worked out differently for me. There were lessons in there. So that I was unexpected lessons. And that's what I love about the theme. The theme has something to teach you that you don't even know is coming. And that's why I think it's brilliant. So I started out with forgiveness. And then the next year I was like, I'm a themey person. I like when things belong together and they're categorized and I can really, just they belong together, I guess. There's something about it. So I decided that every year I was going to pick an F word, right? Here's a meaningful word for me, an action word that I want to carry with me through the course of the year, right? And really take to heart, really use when I'm faced with challenges, use it to face those challenges and get through them. When I'm struggling with other things or I'm having successes, to look at them through that lens too, right? And use it as a way to kind of direct my life, like a guidepost for sakes. What I did in that second year was I purchased one of these lovely bracelets. And oh, there it is. My Intent. It's a My Intent bracelet. This is not sponsored by My Intent. However, My Intent, you are welcome to reach out to me. I buy one every single year, and I encourage my followers to buy one when they are taking my course and doing things with me. They are inexpensive, they are handmade, and they are also customized. So you can choose your word or your theme for the year. You can fit, I think, 2 words or 3 words on here for the year, and then you carry it with you all year long. You tie it on. It's there to remind you. You take it with you wherever you go. It has personal and private meaning to you, and then you can cut it off at the end of the year, put it in a little container where I keep all of mine to remind you of where you've been, right? And then you tie on your new one for the next year and you tackle that. So here I am with this year's F word, and this year's F word is forge. And I wanted to make sure that as I had gotten settled here in this new home, and I was facing the second year in our new space, that I continued to forge ahead, right? That I continued to build my own path, because I realized that what I'm trying to do with my life is something different from everybody else. And I'm not following a role model. I'm not following someone who's doing it ahead of me. I'm making it up as I go, so to speak, right? I'm making decisions as I go, and I'm not following some kind of directions, right? And that means that I need to use other ways, right, to guidepost myself. So I wanted to make sure I kept that energy, that forging ahead energy, and I did this year. I took it very seriously, right? I forged ahead. I got a book out. I got it published twice. I really leaned into that a lot. I shifted I recently have cleaned up and shifted what I'm doing in terms of my content and what I want to be doing with my time. And I'm getting realigned with all of those things, right? And literally, even in my personal life and my home life, I'm forging ahead to create a version of family and lifestyle that was never an example that was given to me, that I could be many things all at once, that I can live in the country and in the middle of the woods and yet also do this kind of work, right? It's crazy, right? This path that I've chosen. And so I've continued to forge ahead. And so I'm now in this place. It's October, it's mid-October already, you guys. And I have to start thinking about my next F word. And that's what brings me to the whole thing today, because I'm about to start that journey right now, this second, with you guys. I decided that instead this year of just kind of unveiling my new F word, and last year I don't even know if I did that, I got to tell you. But this year I want to take you on the journey with me of picking my F word, because I start about now in October, right? when I start leaning into that very cozy, quiet time that comes with the holidays and as winter approaches and all of that stuff. And it's right about now, right before Halloween or so, that I start thinking, oh, right, before I know it, New Year's is going to be here and I'm going to need a new theme. Well, I have to start by looking at Forge. How did Forge do for me? What were the lessons that I learned from that? And that's sort of exactly right where I am. Is yes, I needed that word. I needed a strong, assertive word like Forge to keep pushing ahead to what I knew the vision could be. And now here I am, another year into it, and where am I? Right? I did forge ahead. I've created this crazy monster of my life, and I love it and I want to see where it's headed. And I have to balance out a few other things, and I'm making these adjustments that I talked to you guys about. But what is the energy and the thinking process that I want to bring with me into 2025, right? I have a tendency on even years for some reason to have very aggressive years. I do a lot of output in even years for some reason. And that maybe it's because my birth year was an even year. I don't know. And then the odd years in between, I tend to do a little more, I want to say, like growth and nurturing of the things that I built in that even year. So I'm heading into like a nurturing type of year where I don't want to be pushing as hard. I just kind of want to be watering my garden beds of all of the seeds that I planted, right? And making sure that all of those things are still interesting to me and that they all are still aligned. And if that's the year that I'm looking for, what is the kind of word that will do that? So I'm thinking about that. I'm right in that space where I'm reflecting on Forge and what that had to teach me, what I'm still in the process of learning in the close up of the year, and what I want to take with me from Forge into this next year, right? So far, I've got a few words that I'm playing with. And I'm not going to share them with you yet because I'm not ready yet. I don't I'm not quite there. I'm still in the process of kind of really understanding what Forge meant to me and where do I want to go. That's where I'm at right now. And so that's what I'll be sharing with you. I think I'll share with you lots of other things, of course, and other things that I'm thinking out in between. But as I'm making progress along the way with my F word, I'm going to share those little steps with you so that you can replicate them in your own time. So for you, think about the past year. What have you been through in the past year? And as this year is coming to a close, what did it teach you? What was the energy that came to you with this year? And what do you want differently next year? And what do you want the same next year? What do you want out of all that? You're going to have this full 365 days in front of you. And where do you want to direct your energy, right? Where do you want to best utilize your spoons? Start thinking about that. And I'll be thinking about my Forge, and we will work our way to getting to our own F words. I must say at this point in time, you are not required to use an F word, and you can use multiple words. I say up to 3 is usually the max, right? But 1 to 3 words doesn't have to begin with F. That's just my thing. Pick any letter that works for you, of course, and really think about how you're going to settle into whatever you want coming up, and how are you going to get what you want out of 2025. What are you going to use as your guidepost to get there, right? So kind of backtrack a little, forward think a little bit, right? And we're going to have in the present meld them together and come up with what we're going to kind of pursue in terms of our energy for the next year. And so I'll share that with you next week, how far I get, if I get somewhere. But for right now, I'm going to leave you with that thought. That is where I leave you on this lovely rainy Monday. And I hope it gets you going. I hope it gets you thinking about, kind of what you went through, where you've gotten, how far you've gotten this year, and where you want to head to next year. That's really what it's about. So with that, I say, I am Becca Lori Hector. I am your host of Growing Attitude. Imagine if maybe I should change the name, you guys. That might have been brilliant. It might have been a really brilliant slip. Anyway, Growing Gratitude. I am Becca Lori Hector. I am also author of I'm always off. Always Bring Your Sunglasses up there, which you can get on Amazon in Kindle, paperback, and audiobook. And you can also head to my website below. There are lots of links below and links to this video. And you can also find my course down there if you're interested in finding out more about that. Until then, I say, keep taking care of your meat suit. Make sure you're taking care of your headspace, and also keeping an eye out for all of the glimmers out there that keep us motivated and grateful for what we're building. Have a good week, and I'll see you next Monday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Bye.